Imagine a continent so rich in talent that its doctors save lives in London, its engineers design skyscrapers in Dubai, its scientists pioneer breakthroughs in Boston, and its artists inspire movements in Paris. Yet, back home, hospitals are understaffed, infrastructure crumbles, classrooms overflow, and innovation struggles to take root. This is not a paradox, it is the African reality, a continent exporting brilliance while importing struggle. Today, we confront one of Africa's most silent but devastating crises, the brain drains. Why is Africa bleeding talent? What are the costs? And how can the continent turn this exodus into an opportunity for rebirth?
Strength of Africa TV presents
Rise about children of the sun. Our story's not over, it's just begun. From Timbuktu to the streets of Soweto, Africa speaks and the world must echo. Strength of Africa, we stand tall. In our declare the truth, we break the wall. Up from the roots to the skies, we rise again. This is our voice and the world human. Strength of Africa TV.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Depending on where you are at this moment, I'm your host, Adebayo Oladokun, and this is Strength of Africa TV, where truth meets courage, where the past is reawakened and the future of the motherland is reclaimed. Today's episode is titled Exported Brilliance, Imported Struggle, the African Brain Drain Crisis. Let's start at the beginning. The term brain drain describes the large-scale emigration of skilled professionals from developing regions like Africa to wealthier nations in search of better opportunities. Picture this: a young, brilliant medical student in Nigeria. Her parents sell farmland to send her to school. She graduates, but instead of working in a local hospital, where there is one doctor for every 5,000 patients, she gets an offer in Canada, twice the salary, modern equipment, stability. Who could blame her? Let's fact check. According to the World Health Organization, Africa bears 25% of the world's disease burden, but has only 3% of the world's health workers. Nigeria alone has lost over 15,000 doctors to the UK, US, and Canada in the last decade. In Ghana, it is estimated that more than half of newly qualified doctors emigrate within 3 years of graduation. Now compare that to the UK, where there is one doctor for every 350 people, or Norway, where a nurse salary is often 15 times what an African nurse earns at home. The gap is wide, and it pulls the best away. Today, we might say, the education of an African is meaningless if it only feeds the progress of foreign lands. Brain drain is not just a trickle, it is a flood. The UNESCO Institute of Statistics estimates that more than 300,000 African professionals live and work outside Africa. Ethiopia trains thousands of engineers each year, yet more than 75% live within 5 years. In Zimbabwe, during the 2000 economic crisis, entire hospitals shut down as nurses fled to the UK. South Africa's skilled workforce migration has accelerated, with thousands of teachers and IT specialists relocating to Australia and the UK. Imagine walking into a hospital in Uganda and finding one doctor for an entire district. That same doctor works 14-hour shifts with no modern equipment and earns less in a month than a doctor in New York earns in a week. Next door, you find an overcrowded classroom, 90 students to one teacher, and half of the qualified teachers have fled for jobs in Canada. In 2017, Nigeria's Medical Association estimated that at least 40,000 Nigerian doctors were practicing abroad, while only about 35,000 remained at home, for a population of 250 million. It's like Africa is a fertile soil, growing the finest trees, but before they can bear fruit, the harvest is shipped away to feed other lands. Why do the best and brightest leave? The answer lies in a painful cocktail of push and pull factors. Push factors, Africa-induced factors. Number one on the list is poor salaries. A Ghanaian doctor earns in a month what a UK doctor earns in a week. Lack of infrastructure. Engineers trained to design highways end up in offices with no projects. Political instability. Conflict in Sudan, coup in Mali, corruption in Nigeria. Lack of recognition. Talent often suffocated by bureaucracy and nepotism. Imagine a Kenya software developer writing brilliant code, but without reliable internet and electricity. His dream startup collapses. Silicon Valley offers him a visa and venture capital. Do you see the dilemma? The pull factors, abroad-induced factors. Number one is higher paychecks, access to cutting-edge research and technologies, safer living conditions, professional prestige. In the US, over 70,000 doctors are foreign trained, and a significant portion hail from Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa. There was a story of a Malawian nurse, Grace Banda, who left for the UK. In Malawi, she worked at a hospital where sometimes one syringe was used for multiple patients due to shortages. In the UK, she had access to unlimited supplies, modern machines, and a salary she could use to build home back at Lilongwe. She said, "I didn't want to leave, but I wanted to live." In brain drain, we might say, he who employs you owns your brilliance. Let's ask the hard question. What does Africa lose when our children leave? Number one, financial cost. African nations spend billions training doctors, teachers, and engineers who end up serving other countries. For example, every African doctor who emigrates represents a loss of nearly $200,000 in training investments. Two, developmental cost. Hospitals remain understaffed. Schools lack qualified teachers. Infrastructure projects stall. Innovation ecosystem weaken. Three, psychological cost. A message is sent to the youth. If you want to succeed, you must leave Africa. This creates a cycle where the best minds do not envision a future at home. It's like Africa is a leaking bucket. No matter how much water you pour in, the best drops escape. According to the African Union, Africa loses an estimated $4 billion annually due to brain drain. And beyond money, it's about human lives. In Syria alone, during the Ebola outbreak, there were fewer than 150 doctors for a population of 6 million. Many of the doctors who could have been there were in Europe and America. The cost was measured in lives lost. But let's be fair. Brain drain is not all doom and gloom. Many in the diaspora send back money, knowledge, and networks. In 2022, African diaspora remittances hit over $100 billion, more than all foreign aid combined. Nigeria alone received over $20 billion in remittances, second only to oil revenue. Think of the Ethiopian community in the US, funding schools back home, or Nigerian doctors in Houston, Dr. Olawale Suleiman, who flies home for medical missions. But here is the catch. Remittances often pay for school fees, rent, and food, not necessarily nation building. Remittances are survival money, not structural transformation. A mother in rural Kenya receives $200 from her son in Atlanta. It helps her eat, but it doesn't fix the broken road to her village. This question is for you viewers. Can money replace presence? Can dollars replace doctors? Some Africans are rewriting the story. They leave, but they come back, or they build bridges. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, educated and worked abroad, but returned to Nigeria to reform finance before becoming head of the WTO, World Trade Organization. Think of the story of Dr. Ola Orekunrin, a Nigerian-born doctor who trained in the UK. She could have stayed permanently in Europe and built a career there, but instead she returned to Nigeria to build West Africa's first air ambulance service. Our story is rare, but it tells us something important. That brain drain is not just about individuals living, it's about entire nations struggling to create an environment worth returning to. In Rwanda, the government actively invited its diaspora back. Many returned to rebuild the nation. Ghana's year of return in 2019 attracted thousands of African descendants and professionals to reconnect and invest. In Rwanda, one returning diaspora member, Donald Kaberuka, became the Minister of Finance and spearheaded reforms that stabilized the economy. In Ghana, entrepreneurs who had studied in the US returned to set up tech hubs in Accra, now employing hundreds of thousands of young Africans. If brain drain is a wound, how do we heal it? 1. Retention strategies. Better pay and working conditions for professionals. Investment in research and innovation hubs. Political stability and good governance. 2. Diaspora engagement. Programs like brain circulation, Africans abroad sharing expertise without necessarily relocating permanently, encouraging return through tax breaks, grants, and guaranteed opportunities. 3. Education reform. Train Africans not only for jobs abroad, but for the realities and needs of Africa. Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. But that weapon must not be exported. It must be wielded in Africa. The African brain drain is not just statistics. It's a child in Mali without a teacher. It's a mother in Sierra Leone who walks into an empty clinic. It's a brilliant idea born in Lagos but patented in California. But it doesn't have to be this way. If Africa builds systems that respect talent, if leaders invest in their people, if the diaspora stays connected not just with money, but with presence and purpose, then the tide can turn. I want to challenge you, whether you are in Africa or in the diaspora, what role can you play in reversing this tide? Perhaps it's mentoring, investing, teaching, or returning. But one thing is certain, Africa cannot afford to lose you. Let me leave you with this thought. Africa does not lack brains. Africa lacks the conditions that make brilliance stay. The continent is not empty of talent. It is empty of trust, opportunity, and vision. But when the scattered seeds return, when African doctors heal African children, when African engineers build African roads, when African scientists solve African problems, then the struggle will no longer be imported. It will be transformed into strength. My brothers and sisters, the question is not whether Africa can rise. The question is, will we rise together or will we continue to rise elsewhere? I still remain your host, Adebayo Oladokun, and this is Strength of Africa TV. If you found value in this conversation, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. Watch out for the next episode. You don't want to miss it. Until then, tell your own story, because Africa's future is written in African ink. Stay rooted, stay bold, stay African, and thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye.
Arise about children of the sun. Our story is not over, it's just begun. From Timbuktu to the streets of Soweto, Africa speaks and the world must echo. Strength of Africa, we stand.